on after that. Armor class 16. I don't think I've ever had that high, and I still don't know what it does. I'm assuming some damage reduction. That's a big thing to assume, probably. But how much does it? How much does it actually reduce damage? We'll go see if the barred door is still barred. Who knows, it might be. Yeah, the door is barred from side. I don't know what that is. No idea. Maybe there's something on these gravestones or things like that. But I don't want to spend time doing that. That's what it is, that's what it is. We still got full magic, okay. Ah, this should be the final fight. And it is. We'll be using invulnerability here. We have a dark servant. I don't want to use that. Our last chance to use it in actual fighting. That's our enemy. It won't die here. What? What was that? Didn't work. Didn't work. Die, you pigs! I don't understand why the dark servant didn't really work. So I can just throw it and does nothing. Oh, not it. I'm guessing it's some kind of a... It needs a certain space to activate. Come get some... No point saving up anything at this point. Let's go. Didn't last long. With a scream of agony, you are rent from this world into another. Every part of your body wreathed in mystical fire. When your vision clears, you find yourself standing in a great hall filled with ghastly echoes and menacing shadows. In the distance, you can see a raised dais, and upon it the only source of light in this world. This can only be the Chaos Sphere, source of Korax's power. With this you can create worlds, or destroy them. By rites of battle and conquest it is yours, and with trembling hands you reach to grasp it. Perhaps now a new player will join the cosmic game of power, like the pawn who is promoted to queen. Suddenly the very reaches of the board seem to be within your grasp. But there are other players mightier than you, and who can know their next move. And that's the end. Now I finished. This is the last of the playthroughs. So now I've finished all three. I still think that the cleric is definitely the most fun one to play. Fighters have fighter is basically, it's not hard, it's okay in every situation. It's fairly durable, but it's sort of a dull. The two first weapons are both melee. Third one is the one you're basically using against everything, and then you have the fourth weapon that's only good for really against those boss type battles. So it's not bad to play with or hard, but it's dull, dullest of them all. Cleric, on the other hand, is it's relatively fun. All the weapons are different, and the fourth weapon, it's a huge blast to use it, and it's very good, very useful, especially against those huge enemy masses that are so time consuming to deal with many of the others. Mage, on the other hand, it has a fantastic starter weapon. You can deal with anything basically, almost anything with just that, but the problem is you tend to want to do them, even though it's a bit tedious to do that, because especially the secondary weapon is pretty useless. It's a short range melee range spell, and that's not really that good. The third spell was great until you got into those narrow caves where the damage is reduced like to half to one third to what it is in the outdoor map. So great spell turned to meh. And then you had the final fourth weapon, which isn't bad, but it's nothing special. It's okay, it's powerful, yeah, but against like a target, only if it explodes near the target, then it's powerful. If it just passes through them, it's doesn't do all that much damage. So it's not that reliable, and it's not all that useful or powerful. It's still, if you can afford it to spam the missiles, you can still clear out a room, but the clerical weapon can do that with a 2 to 3 shots, and you're nowhere near it at the end of your magic at that point. The wizard can do that, a sort of similar effect if you spam most of your mana. So I just don't get it. At least this wasn't uninteresting. The spells were varied enough, so I did like enjoy that. I would just hope that either the second spell would have been something else than the free spell, or alternatively the lightning spell would have worked just as well in outdoors as well as in indoors. So I could have relied on it more heavily. Now I felt that I have to fall back on the basic weapon too much, alternatively spend a ton of magic to use the fourth weapon, which wasn't all that great. But at least it allowed you to quickly get rid of a large number of enemies if you just have the magic. So yeah, I still think cleric is the best, definitely. I think warrior is better in this game than the wizard is, but it's less interesting to play with. So I still might prefer to play it with the mage over the warrior. I still think the warrior was maybe a bit easier to play. Not cleric was definitely the best. By a huge margin, it's the best. It has good weapons, interesting weapons, different weapons. The only bad thing about the cleric is that the starter weapon is that's terrible, absolutely terrible, but you have to play with that like 6-7 minutes if you know at all what you're doing, maybe 15-20 if you don't. So yeah, it's a small price to pay for the most enjoyable playthrough of this game. Overall, I still think this game it's okay. The cleric, if you play this real cleric, the experiences are slightly better, I think, but especially with the mage, it was a pretty average experience to play. And since I played with all the rest, I would have to say that it's directly because of the weapons. They don't allow you to deal with the situations that the game throws at you in a very convenient way. They're sort of weapons. I would rather have a dumbfire rocket launcher than that fourth weapon the Mage has. The fact that it's homing capabilities, it's good against some enemies, but it it's it makes it a crap weapon against others, because the homing also ruins your aiming. It ruins your aiming in about half the cases. In half the cases, it sort of aids you a little bit. So yeah, it sort of sucks. Overall, still enjoyable. I don't feel like playing this game again now, but that's because I played it through 3 times. But I don't dislike it or hate it or feel that it's bad in any way. So that's a good thing. If you can play a game through 3 times and it sort of doesn't you're not fed up with it. It's a good game, even though this is it might be because it's short enough. It's 5 hours per playthrough, so a couple of days and you can easily play through all of them, especially if it's the weekend. Yeah, it's still an okay gaming experience. Definitely interested in playing more games in this series. I get the one that uses the Quake engine. I might try it. I remember only one thing about that entire game, and that's one weapon. Sort of a shower of bone shards. That's not a lot to remember about the game, so it probably isn't a great game, but it might be sort of similar level at this. So it's not a one of the forgotten classics of gaming, but it's not a bad game either. So yeah, I could probably get a few enjoyable playthrough or two from it, especially if it's sort of similar length, and I could do playthrough with multiple characters. Couldn't tell. Until then, goodbye.